Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for clicking on this video. In this episode, we're talking about motorcycle GPSs and specifically those ones that lean toward the adventure market. Stay tuned because I'm going to explain to you why I think the Garmin Zumo XT, in my opinion, is the best motorcycle GPS on the market. So GPSs have come a long way in the last few years, and Garmin has had the Zumo series forever. And I mean, for the last probably 15 years or so, there's been different series of the Zumo, which have always been specifically for motorcycle travel. For those of you who don't know, the BMW GPSs that are used for the GS 1200, the GS 1250, those are all actually produced by Garmin, at least the newer ones are. And they use a similar platform. So that being said, it's really nice to be able to have something that's been kind of tried and true on the adventure bike, in the adventure bike market for the last several years, and now pouring over into the non-BMW side. In my opinion, the Garmin Zumo XT is really the closest thing that what the factory BMW GPSs are like, but in my opinion also, I think they're all honestly just a little bit better from some other features. The Zumo XT has a ton of different features that sets it apart from a lot of other GPSs, as well as other brands out there like TomTom or what's like Touratech that makes specific motorcycle GPSs. And I've also used apps like Gaia GPS, Rever, and apps like that to make routes and tracks from point A to point B. The Zumo XT is, in my opinion, above and beyond what those apps and what the other GPSs are capable of. So in the last few years, I've used a couple different GPS units in conjunction with each other. You've probably seen this in some of my ride videos, but I've used the Touratech Voyager Pro as well as the app, the Gaia GPS, and work really well together because you can load tracks on both of these. The Gaia GPS works without any cell service, and then on the Touratech you have almost like a virtual dash. It's got a buddy tracker on it. You can read a lot of your gauges on your Voyager Pro. My problem with the Voyager is that if you want to go to a specific point, it doesn't take you in a turn by turn. It only takes you in a straight line. So for off-road motorcycle purposes, like with dirt bikes, two strokes, a single track, that kind of riding, this is an excellent GPS, and I'm actually going to continue to use this on my dirt bike. But when it comes to adventure motorcycle riding, it's not as intuitive, mainly because if you're doing a lot of pavement riding and off-road riding, you have a hard time trying to differentiate what a highway is, what a track is, and then when you get onto a highway, if you don't have a track there, you can't say, I need to go to X intersection. You have to have it predetermined, a predetermined track on here to be able to go wherever it is that you want to go. There's no actual navigation built in to the GPS itself. Now, it has excellent mapping, and I said there are a lot of great features about this, and I'm not dogging this at all, but as far as a practical adventure motorcycle application, it's more geared towards an off-road GPS versus an on and off-road GPS, like what 90% of adventure motorcycle riders ride. A similar thing with the Gaia GPS, lots of information that you can download onto here, and you can have it on your motorcycle and you can follow tracks just like you would with the Touratech. The problem with the Gaia that I find is that even though it is very reliable in my opinion, the device that it's on, your cell phone, can not be reliable sometimes. And what I mean by that is, one, if you have it in a mount, sometimes I've had the mount either break off or come off, or it's fallen out of the mount and you can drop your phone. Luckily, I've never actually crunched a phone off-road, but the only damage that I've really had is when I have it in a mount, the vibration off-road gets so bad that it actually screws up my camera. Now on these new phones like the iPhone 11, the iPhone 12, and I've even heard of some people having problems with the Samsung phones, the vibration screws up the focus sensor in there. So you go to take a picture or a video and it just can't focus. It pulses back and forth. Now I've replaced that 3 times on these phones. Luckily it's all been under warranty, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt, especially if you're on a really long ride and your camera goes out, you really have no way. I mean, we take pictures with our phone camera all the time, so we have really no way of documenting with either the video or the phone for snapshots and things like that. I mean, granted, for somebody like me, like a creator like me, I take other cameras with me, but to be able to use your phone, it's really nice to be able to just use your phone and take photos. So when it doesn't work, it's kind of a pain. That being said, then these new phones are really expensive. I mean, you're talking in the upwards of $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for these new phones. And if they do break and then, you know, you have to do a warranty claim or you have coverage on it, it's just something that you don't want to have to deal with. So now I'm really looking forward to just taking this, putting it in my tank bag, being done with it, and being able to Bluetooth this to my GPS to get my music, to get my phone calls, my text messages, all that stuff in through one device instead of having multiple devices or having to get this out all the time. Now you've heard me talk about this GPS for a couple of minutes now. Let's go ahead and do an unboxing and I'll show you some of the features before we get it mounted up. So we got our Garmin Zumo XT and we'll go ahead and crack it open. First thing that we'll find in this box is the GPS. We've got our warning labels and all that good stuff on it. This unit is pretty awesome, nice and sleek, really thin. And like I said before, from here to here, it's 5.5 inches. So nice big screen. We've got our mount here on the back, our power button, as well as our charging port and our micro SD card port. You just open these up. These are completely waterproof, but we got our ports here and a little speaker on the back as well. But we'll go ahead and set that aside, see what else is here in the box. Also inside the box comes with our power cord. With this power cord, you can direct wire it either into your battery. It comes with some terminals, or you can wire it into an accessory switch or a switch power somewhere on your bike. If you have a switch or power switch block or a switched power source on your motorcycle, I recommend doing that because having it hooked directly to your battery, you take the chance of forgetting to leave it, that you left it on, and eventually you could actually drain your battery. So it's pretty nice that it gives you the options there, but I will be hooking this up into a switch power behind my dash on the motorcycle. So we'll set this aside. We've got our instructions. We've got our mount here that goes on to the back of the GPS, a charging cord, some zip ties, a little screwdriver for mounting the power cord, to this bracket. And they give you a lot of ram ball options. Let me go ahead and move this box out of the way and I'll show you what kind of options we have here. So in there you get a ram knuckle. This one is Garmin branded, but it's the same as ram. You know, it's essentially the same as what the ram mounts are. You get a ball mount that goes onto the bracket to mount the GPS if you'd like to do it that way. Several other mounting options. You get a handlebar mount as well as a U-bolt mount to be able to hook it to your handlebars, or you could hook it to, you know, say you have a crossbar on your windshield, you could hook it into that. I'll be mounting mine to an existing crossbar on the windshield, exactly where I had my Touratech. So while I've got this off the motorcycle, I'll show you how this mount works and how you mount the power cord to the mount. First off, what you're going to do is you're going to fish this through, and then once it gets all the way through, you're going to rotate it and then press it back in there. So you have your little electrode sitting there, and you've got your power cord coming down, and there's this little connection or a little saddle that this wire sits into. And then you notice this little hole right here. Garmin provides these two tiny screws, if I can get the glare out of that. Yeah, these two tiny screws right here, and also this little screwdriver to allow you to mount this cord on to the backing plate. Another thing that's nice about it is whenever you're not using your Garmin, you can actually take this rubber cover, give it a little push, and it protects those diodes from any corrosion or getting wet or dust or anything like that whenever the GPS isn't mounted. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and mount this really quick. So after unboxing this, I took a little bit of time to just pair up my phone and a few other things. I will say my nitpick with this right now is the glare. Now, I haven't noticed a glare in the bright sunlight, but with these fluorescent lights here in my shop, I do notice that there is somewhat of a glare. Another thing I noticed is after loading a lot of my tracks on, it does take a few seconds for it to boot up, but once it is booted up, it's not really an issue. So once you get to your main screen here, you have View Map, or you have Where To. Where To, you can type in things like, obviously addresses, points of interest. You can also link this to the Explore app. So if you've got tracks or anything like that attached to your InReach, you can also link those from there. So going back, when you have it connected to your phone, you can go to your music. Got some Randy Houser there right now. You can browse all of your music, your podcasts, your audiobooks, and your Apple Music, which is really neat. You can also go into your playlists and all your songs, albums, all that stuff, just like you would on your phone. Have it connected directly to your GPS rather than having to mess with it on your phone while you're riding down the road. This also syncs to your Cardo or to your Senna, so you can have the music or the turn-by-turn through your headset and your helmet. Some other neat little key parts here of the menu screen. Well, first of all, you can hold this in a landscape version, or you can turn it, get it to switch here, and then have it in a portrait mode. Either way is really nice depending on what you're used to. I prefer landscape, but some people prefer portrait. You have your battery meter, you have your fuel estimator, and what this does is once you start to ride, you can track your fuel by resetting your trip odometer, and it'll monitor how often you do that, and then it gives you a pretty good estimate of when you're running low on fuel. Another thing it'll do in the maps, if it realizes that you're running low on fuel, it'll suggest the next fuel stop, but that's pretty nifty. Gives your outside temperature, gives your time, Bluetooth connectivity, and then you can switch this from motorcycle to automobile mode and to an off-road mode. Going into some of the apps, you have your owner's manual, bird's eye view, which allows you to download satellite images. You have your InReach function, which I have my InReach connected right now, so it shows my preset messages, new messages, and then the messages I have unread. It also gives your track just like you would if you were using just the InReach for tracking your distance. And then you have your SOS button here. If you tap that, it gives you 5 seconds to confirm or cancel, and then it sends an SOS signal. You can share your routes by clicking Share Route, and you can share it through the Drive app. You can share it through Bluetooth or through a memory card. If you have another Zumo XT, you can actually transfer the route directly to the other device strictly by just using the Bluetooth. You can get all your smartphone notifications up on the screen. Let me show you this here. You can turn on your music player, have it over in the corner, and then your notifications would also pop up here, like your text messages or any other notifications you might get on your phone while it's tucked away. And you can change all these settings to have your trip data, your weather, all of that over here in the corner while you're riding, or you can X that out and have just a big navigation screen. Going back into the apps, again, you have your fuel settings. Here you can upload your tracks. You can record tracks while you're riding. Trip Planner allows you to plan out routes for the future. You can do round trip routes, track back, so basically makes you go back the way you came. And then again, you have your weather options. A lot of these features, you have to have internet access to be able to receive those. But then you also have things like weather radar, photos. You can link up your wireless camera if you have that on there. And again, like I said, you can also link up a Bluetooth headset for your helmet. This is also just a track recorder if you were curious on just recording tracks. But as far as the screen goes, you can change, and I think this is actually pretty neat and worth mentioning. You can change your vehicle preference. Right now I have it set to a red Africa Twin, which I thought was pretty crazy that they had that in there. They have a sport bike, a blue car, a couple of other car, Harley looking bike, a dirt bike, and then just your arrows, and then this ST1000 or something similar to that, a sport touring bike. You can change your map details. Just again, tons and tons of features. But one of the coolest things that I like about it is that with your Bluetooth headset also, you can key up your mic. You can access this, say where you want to go using like the Siri function, and it would take you to wherever you want to go that way. Or if you're looking for a route and you wanted to go to the closest point on that route, so say you have a route that you had been traveling on and you wanted to jump over to that route and you weren't at the start and you weren't at the end, it would actually take you to the closest point along that track to be able to go ahead and keep on trucking on that one route. So after using this GPS for a couple of months and getting some solid user time on it, there's a couple of things I need to point out.
So we're out riding, checking out this GPS, and I'll tell you what, so far it's been flawless. I've really enjoyed it. The screen is really easy to see, both standing and sitting. Even right now we're in some shade, but in the sun it's completely clear. There's no glare or anything like that, so that's pretty nice. All your controls are really easy to use with gloves on, so I really appreciate that. And then it names the actual BLM road that you're on, so in the event that anything were to ever happen, you know exactly where you are on like which BLM road. You can always look and see what your cross was in case you needed help, so that's pretty awesome. With the GPS, you've obviously got different views that you can look at. You've got your topographic. You turn that off and just look at the regular view. It still has a little bit of contour lines in it. And then you can go through and you can download bird's eye view. And I haven't done that now, but what it'll do is it'll actually give you a satellite image of the actual mapped area, which is pretty sweet. If you're in a nice open area and you want to maybe look and see what was ahead and see if you can find a camp spot or anything like that, you could really use that bird's eye view. The downside of that is you do have to have service to be able to download those maps via Wi-Fi, so it takes a little bit of pre-planning. If you know your area that you're going to be in, you could always just download the bird's eye view for that, but it's definitely not a necessity by any means on the GPS. Just a nice little thing to add to it. Another thing you can do is have your phone settings there to where if you were having phone calls, you can see who was coming in, or you can get a text message, it'll pop up in that corner. Just lots of little features that are useful. Maybe not necessarily useful while off-road, but obviously right now we have a track loaded in for a 185-mile loop that we're doing right now. And this is one of the really easy sections of that loop, so I thought this would be a good time just to make the video. In general, it's really nice to be able to have such a nice big screen. Like I said, it's 5.5 inches to be able to see the route, and you can customize the colors and all that stuff of the route. Another really nice feature about it, obviously of being off-road, that doesn't really apply right here, but when you're in town or you're around a public area, it'll show you gas stations that are coming up, restaurants, all the things that you might be looking for as you're approaching a town. When you come from off-road and you're looking for maybe a fuel stop, or you're hungry, you guys want something to take a break. You can also program it to where you have different waypoints along the route, and you can set up notifications that will let you know that those are approaching, so that's really nice. The amount of features that are on this thing are way more than I could go into in this short video right now. But one thing I wanted to point out about this GPS is that right now it shows my line, and in the past other GPSs that I've owned, whenever you zoom in and zoom out, it'll give you a scale of like how far 1,000 feet is, or a quarter mile, 2,500 feet, 3,500 feet, and so on. one nitpick about this one is that it doesn't actually do that. So whenever you're looking at the map, you're not exactly sure just how far, you know, maybe your next turn is, or a point of interest. Especially, and this doesn't really matter when you're on the highway, but off-road, it's kind of a pain to not be able to know exactly, or a roundabout way, how far it is. Like, I guess obviously with more time using it, I would get an idea. Look at that waterfall down there. But yeah, it'd be nice to have an idea of just how far something is. Another thing, and again, this is a small nitpick, and I get it that most motorcycles, especially newer motorcycles, have a built-in thermometer on it. And you know, my Africa Twin right now, it says it's 70 degrees. In reality, it's more like 76. And if you know anything, or if you own an Africa Twin, you know that the thermometer or temperature on the Africa Twin is never accurate. That being said, my Touratech had a little sensor that hung down right here, and you can always get an accurate air temperature, you know, how hot it was or how cold it was. The nice thing about this is when you're camping, you know at night, okay, it's getting down to 35 degrees or whatever. Whereas this one doesn't have that, and I get it. It's a small, minor nitpick, but I think it would be nice that some type of external temperature gauge on it, so you would know what the current temperature was. But again, just a little nitpick, but two things just to show you that there are still some things that don't make this absolutely perfect, but still a really good, solid GPS unit for adventure bikes.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging into the end of this video. I hope this video really answers any questions you had about the Garmin Zumo XT. And like I said many times, I really think that this, in my opinion, is the best motorcycle GPS out there on the market, specifically for the adventure market. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as well as that bell icon. That way you know when videos like this are released. Guys, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.